Welcome to Disengaged, the podcast. I'm Leah Harding, your host. This week, there's a bit of a plot twist, but I don't feel like it's entirely just my story to share. Do you agree, Aaron?
I mean, I think it's your narrative. You can tell it however you like. I'm just an innocent bystander.
Well, you're a little more than that, let's be honest. Okay, so it feels like we have to come clean, but then equally it has been this thing that has naturally grown where it hasn't felt like it's been this thing that we've had to necessarily announce. So drum roll, I guess. I don't know, we've been dating.
Yeah. Should we start from the beginning and then lead up to everything else, or should we just work backwards?
That's a great question. I think where this podcast started from is really important to highlight, which is out of this irritation for encouraging people to be married because that is the natural next progression societally. Right. And I have always been very against that since I was engaged in 2018. That whole inner turmoil that I felt, it was very difficult to go through, especially within a religious context. Ending that engagement, coming out of it, finding my own voice, and being I was kind of forced into that, starting disengaged, realigning with myself, a lot of therapy, going to school again, quitting my job, doing all of these things. And then I met you. And
Surprise.
I didn't realize that dating someone who is an equal, I should say I didn't know what dating someone who was an equal felt like. And I don't mean equal as in value, it's equal as in perspectives and take on the world.
Yeah, and effort put in. Yeah, you're not the only person contributing to the relationship on any specific, wavelength or category.
Yeah, and there's not one rub that is captivating the psyche of this if only this would change, then I could be better.
I feel like during the time where I was going from having short hair to long hair, there was a period that you might consider a little bit of a rub where you're like, wow, this is uncomfortable.
I struggled with that. It was the ugly bang stage for anyone who's grown.
Right.
You're there's a better way, surely, to do this, but there's not. There's only one way through, which is very similar to the dating world, not going to lie. There's only
Honestly,
one way.
That's true. That is a good comparison.
It's kind of the ugly bang stage. You've got to grow the ugly bangs. You look back and you're like, damn, I looked rough. But look at me now.
Exactly. You can't really appreciate the glow up if you don't go through a little bit of struggle.
It's true. So yeah, the cat's out of the bag. Aaron and I met. Well, I want you to tell the story, actually.
I was going to say, I feel like we were pretty transparent in the first episode. I guess maybe not pretty transparent, but we were secret transparent, right? So there is a line in the first episode that I appear on that says that we met on Hinge. So at that point, I got at least one text message from my best friend back in Nebraska saying, hey, so how long have you guys been dating? So the inference was there, if people were really looking for it. Yeah. So, we did.
But it was not for the whole point of Disengage the podcast. It was not about my current dating life. It was very much unpacking the past.
Sure.
Which is a cool thing. Anyway, keep going.
Oh no,
also,
that's
I know you have just one. Gin and tonic is on hand for us, so
yes, but I don't want to spoil anything over here.
Actually, can we see your glass, Aaron?
Yeah, I think it's probably reversed in here. Boyfriend crossed out. Now it says fiance. Well, it's reversed on my screen. That's embarrassing.
You guys were engaged.
Yeah, so that's the real cat's out of the bag. So I guess we skipped a couple of steps in between.
I know. But
if you're listening to this on release day, which is Wednesday, we just announced on social media the previous Thursday that we were engaged. And being non-traditional and also based off the entire premise of this podcast, I think pretty early on in our relationship, we kind of mutually agreed that we were going to do things a little bit differently. So I was you gotta propose to me. When does a guy get to feel that little, Twitterpation and excitement? Come on, never. Same reason why I wear rings. I'm that's just exciting because guys don't get to accessorize often, and you can't wear a necklace. That's tough.
That's a whole other podcast. Should men wear necklaces?
Yeah, we don't have a fashion podcast, I guess.
So wait, let's get to that in a second. So where we were
Okay.
going before we started sipping the gin and your beautiful glass, which I thrifted, you guys, it was half off. How could I not buy a boyfriend cross out fiance glass? Like, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm worth at
Aaron
least
is my
50 cents.
fiance and vice versa. And this is crazy. So cheers to that, babe.
Yeah. Co-fiancés. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so um I did Hinge when I was in grad school and I did it with a therapist and I was like, okay,
Shout out
why
to
am
your
I
therapist.
dating the
Pivotal.
same guy? Ironically, her name is Virginia and we're going to be living in Virginia. So that's
Yeah.
kind of
Without doxing ourselves. Yeah. That's true.
yeah, yeah. Um so I guess in asking you to continue the story, I actually need to say some things first.
Totally fine.
Yeah. So like I had been on dating apps a little bit, but hadn't met anyone in person when I moved to New York, upstate New York. And I was like, I continue to match with the same person over and over again. And so I was meeting with a therapist and I was like, can we like date together? Like therapist, patient, can you help me in this process? So we narrowed down 5 things that were like non-negotiables and we met every 2 weeks and she was like, okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks go by and I'm like, I've matched with literally one person and it was Aaron. And then we ended up going on a date the day before the 2024 election. Now you enter in.
Well, and I mean, from my perspective, I'd never tried online dating before. I'd been like, this is the first time I downloaded Hinge. I'd been on, one other date with somebody, and I was just like, okay, this is tough out here.
Yeah.
You like, if it's not sharing too much information, you had liked something on my profile first, and then I read through your profile, which I don't know if your therapist signed off on because it was pretty aggressive. You were just like, basically, the undertone was like, I will beat the shit out of you if you step out of line. And I was like, wow, okay. I was like, but at this point, I was like, she seems cool. And I was like, I literally have nothing to lose. And you were in Syracuse and I was about 45 minutes away. So I was like, okay, like not necessarily in the range or, miles distance I was looking for, but I'm glad that I, didn't just give in to my introvert desires and sit on my couch,
Yeah, same. So we meet. The first date was very good. And I'm talking to my therapist. I'm like, yeah, I really like him. I remember after our first date, I just drove around for about an hour, just like kind of bewildered. I was like, it was a good first date. I wasn't like overcome with this like insane butterfly feeling, like Twitter patient, like that,
like the
it
love
wasn't that. It was,
bombing.
yeah, it was this very calm, like safe, like consistent drumbeat, kind of a peace loving thing. And like I was talking to my therapist about it. I was like, yeah, it was a great first date. Like I really, really enjoyed it. I was like, but I didn't feel like this overwhelming sense of like,
Like
And she was like,
obsession, if
oh,
you will.
yeah, she was like, oh, Leah, but remember, you are used to love bombing. Love bombing to you is your dating standard, which is why you continue to date the same type of dude in
Perpetuity.
is that the right word?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
a
that's
perpetuating cycle, I think is the rough definition.
perpetuating cycle. That's the one. So I was like, oh, okay, wow, like this is so good to know. And so going through it with a therapist was very helpful for me to kind of unpack these things of how I am honestly very, very attracted to narcissists is really what I understood. And I was like, I'm attracted to this guy. Does that mean he's a narcissist? And so we
Fair
like
point.
unpack these other things. Yeah. And I have never dated or been on a date with anyone like you. And like that was both incredibly comforting and also just out of my comfort zone. Yeah, yeah. But we kept going on dates.
It's true. It's true.
And
Pretty
it was
pretty
very
quickly.
calm. It was a non-dramatic. There was no like I don't look back and think there was like this like big crescendo or something. Do you feel
Yeah,
that
I
way?
feel like we just enjoyed each other's company and conversation. And so we just kind of continued to make plans to hang out because if nothing else, we could be friends. So I think like even though we technically started dating after like a few, dates, I feel like neither of us was approaching it in the same way that maybe we'd approach things in the past, where it's like obsessed and just like kind of discarding our own personal lives for, the person of the moment. And I think that was really healthy. Cause I view you as like my best friend. And so like, that's so fun. To get to marry your best friend. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely bonkers. But I also like in past relationships, not to like, unpack and drop too much lore
Well,
onto
we
the
have to.
podcast listeners.
We have
Yeah,
to
we kind of do,
give a
right?
little bit of the background because we both have
Yeah.
had very serious previous relationships.
Yeah. So in previous relationships, as if people have listened to season 1, episode 5, like I've, been married before I've been divorced. So there was a period of time where I genuinely just thought, and I may have even mentioned it in the last episode, but like that I was over the institution of marriage because I didn't agree with the principles and everything and the need for it. But when you're dating the right person and it's not like something that's like you're being pressured into, whether it's by your family or the other person or your peer group, it's wildly refreshing and like super cool because genuinely I thought I was just like chill with not ever getting married again. And
Did that
so
feel like a sad place to land for you of being like, I'm probably not going to get married again? Or were you like, thank God I have seen the truth?
I think it was one of those things where you kind of lie to yourself. So I felt that I was completely comfortable with that because I didn't know that there was the possibility of anything else. So it's kind of like self rationalization.
Mm,
Um, but it was very refreshing to find out that there was something else out there. Um, yeah.
that's great. So, yeah, you've been married, you've been divorced, I've been engaged and disengaged. And do you feel like you were able to bring yourself into the relationship, or do you feel like you were bringing you plus all of this baggage into the relationship that you hadn't sorted through? Or do you feel like you were bringing baggage that you, in a way, had sorted through? That's like 4 different approaches to one question.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions, and I don't want to feel like a politician who's not answering the main one. So,
Don't
if you
worry,
have a
I'll hold you to
favorite,
account.
okay, I was gonna say if you have a favorite, let me know. I think that is an interesting thing because at no point do you intentionally bring baggage in, but there are certain things in past relationships that you can subconsciously or sometimes consciously like hold your new relationship to that standard. For me, it was not like, oh, this standard is so high, it's going to be hard to match. It was quite the opposite. It was like, it was almost like trauma from the way I had been treated in past relationships. And so learning to heal from that and learning to grow and not like hold myself to almost like I don't know, it's hard to describe, but like basically like a negative standard of like, okay, well, I was treated poorly in past relationships, which must mean that that's how I deserve to be treated. So if you're being nice to me, there must be a catch. You must have done something worse, or like you must need something from me. So I think that was probably, the most uh, tricky thing to navigate early on because you also don't want to just fall into the trap of being like, okay, well, I'm dating this person because, they make me feel good about myself. I think there were times where like we both challenge each other and help each other be better versions of ourselves, which I think is like a pinnacle achievement in a partner. But it's
Yeah.
also not something that I'm like not to speak ill of any of my exes, but it's not something that I'm used to. I'm used to people like being more of like an echo chamber and just reaffirming like where you are in the status quo or um just not being happy with you who you are and trying to change you
Hmm. Yeah.
you know
That's so interesting. I
how
think it's
about from your
interesting.
perspective though, like for yourself?
The first therapist I ever had when I was 18 said that everyone in a relationship has baggage. It's not like, do you have baggage? It's like, show me your baggage. Like, are you showing up like to some of those flights, people are checking in and they have like 4 carts for like one person? Or do they have just a roller bag with some things? Like, everyone obviously has things to unpack, but some people do obviously have more baggage than others. And so I think learning what your own baggage is huge. Like, how many carts do I need for my own baggage? And have I
Yeah.
gone through all of those bags? And am I able at the customs desk to say, yes, I packed these bags and I know what the contents are? Or am I like, I don't even know, like, no, they're not there. Those aren't my bags. It's like, no, they are my bags and I'm responsible for them and I have to take responsibility for them. I think only then is like bringing baggage, I think, totally in a way acceptable because you're going to be doing it anyway. But I think you need to know what your contents are to the best of your ability.
Like you
So
have
I
to have a
definitely,
personal inventory.
yeah. I think that takes time, that takes introspection, that takes pain, all the things. And joy, like being like, yeah, those were some good times with a good person, but it's over now. And that person and I did not gel, but that doesn't make them a bad person. I can again experience what I experience and then allow it to just be like a shirt and a bag and not anything more. And so certainly I brought quite a bit of baggage to our relationship. I do think in leaving the Middle East where I was, living at home for a year, doing grad school, forced me to take inventory, if only because I was like moving a lot and like bags are hard to move with. I
Yeah.
think this analogy really actually does serve quite well. And um, so I think in this stage in my life, I was more aware than ever before of like the quantity and the quality of the baggage that I have. So I think because of that, it made going on that first date with you what it did. Had that happened a year prior, it really wouldn't have worked. I also wouldn't have gone on a date with you because I was looking for people who stroked this thing within me that was not good for me. But I hadn't identified that yet. I was still in this like circle pattern. Like I was still in the baggage to like not be able to like see the baggage for what it was. I was like in the bag. And
Right.
so
Well,
yeah. Does that make sense to
it
you?
does. It does. And I think like at one point early on, and maybe we've revisited it a couple times, but like, the commentary came up like, would we have been friends in high school? And the answer unequivocally from my end, I don't know about yours, is no.
I
Like,
would have told you to
yeah,
like vote for me for, secretary because that's always what
yeah,
I
and I
do.
would have been like, okay, I'll definitely vote for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I do think that's interesting. But I think timing is really big. And also being able to like break cycles.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do because you and I have both dated the same type of person multiple times.
Right. Just same person, different font kind of thing.
Like
Yeah.
multiple
There's just
times.
a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah,
When
and the
you
little
say,
difference makes you think that it's a different type of person, but it's really not.
oh, yeah, yeah, it's just italicized.
I have literally never ever dated anyone like you, and nor did I even know that I could.
I
But I'm
mean,
glad I did.
I can't I can't claim that I've dated anyone like you either. So I think we lucked out. I don't know. The
Yeah.
universe had our back. Going back to what you had said about baggage, you said quantity and quality of your baggage. Can you unpack the quality aspect of that statement?
Unpack. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
got to keep the analogy going.
I think that's a great question.
Thank you. Thank you. I learned from the best.
Wow. Assuming I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know. I think like knowing I think the quality in which you have gone through the baggage, not the quality of the person that you had been dating or with. But
Mm.
like, are you just aware that it's a shirt? Or are you like, okay, you take the shirt and you're like, you smell it and you're like, I remember this. Or like, you're really able to get into the baggage. And it's like the quality of the time and the space that you allow yourself to have with closing a chapter or with processing a chapter or moments. That's how I see the quality thing. It's genuinely a I guess it's a quantity of baggage and the quality of time that you have spent trying to understand yourself in the lens of that baggage.
So, like, quality of like the resolution and the processing of said baggage.
Yeah. Like no one's
Yeah.
baggage is like necessarily shinier than the others when you really get down to it. Like everyone's got their pile of manure. And so you have to really be familiar like, and own it. Like, yes, this is my baggage. Yes, that is my shirt with holes in it that I clung to for 3 years longer than I should have. And like, I have spent some quality time going through that.
Coming to terms with the fact that you need to get rid of that shirt.
Yeah. And also thanking the shirt for the role that it played in your life, because it
Sure.
is like, thank you. Like, I learned a lot from you. And it's not throwing people away. Like, I think with exes, like my dad always said he hated the term like to dump someone. And I was like, "Ugh, but dad, you just don't get it." And it's like, no, like there's something there. It's like you shouldn't see it as like a dumping. It is like a collection that will just happen. And can you look at it in the face and come to terms with it and be like, I see you, you see me, and we don't have to, just because we see each other doesn't mean that we have to stay together. Like, I let you go. Yeah, I think that's a big one. Okay, so the timeline. So you and I were dating. I think an interesting thing to bring up, not to air all of our laundry, but
I'm curious.
our biggest fights and disagreements have been, in my opinion, based on the perception that you were doing to me what my exes had done to me. And my internal like, oh no, my fight or flight was like, I had made so many moves not to be in that situation again that I almost equated the fear of you being like the others to you being like the others. When in reality,
like if he's doing this, then he must be that kind of equation.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I've actually been hoodwinked, and I'm the Joker now because I should have seen this coming. But it's like, actually, this is my trauma response to a different situation, and this is not the same situation. Like, I legitimately, I mean, you remember, like, I got very, very hurt and angry at you for something that in actuality you did not do, but it felt like you would have done, and that's what I got mad about.
Yeah, it's almost like not to diminish your feelings, but it's almost like having a dream and waking up and being mad at your partner because they did something in the dream.
Yes.
Like it was the precursor, like what I did, and like correct me if I'm wrong because it's your truth, not mine, but like what I did was equating it to like the early behavior that you'd seen in the past that led to the behavior that you then got like afraid of or scared of. Maybe.
Yeah. And not wanting to.
Is that a fair? Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think there is an element with like bringing baggage back into it that I thought that I had dealt with certain things from my past, and you showed me that I hadn't. And I think part of what has made our relationship really cool is we have been co-unpackers of each other's bags. It hasn't been like we brought the bags and then you leave them because you've sorted through all of them. It's like, no, stuff still comes up. Like, that is just reality. Like, are you with someone who can help you navigate through that without taking it personally?
Yeah.
Or holding it against you? And I think for the first time ever, the answer with you would be yes. I think we do that. We've done that in very interesting ways that I did not realize were possible. You know?
Yeah. Non-traditional.
Yeah, for real. Other non-traditional things. Okay, so we have some questions, some like rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, I feel like my speech is slurring because of the gin and tonic.
No, it's because you're excited. You're
Let me
excited.
take another sip. Okay. Oh, question number 1. Who decided that Leah would propose?
I would argue that it was kind of a mutual decision. I don't remember which one of us floated it first, but I do remember it being brought up in kind of like a half joking manner, and then in a setting like maybe with your family or something. And then I was like, no, like I think that's actually a great idea. And people might argue that it's because, well, your last engagement, the reason this podcast exists, didn't work out. But I think that that's a small fraction of it. Like for me, I think I mentioned at the top of the podcast, if it got cut, no big deal. But it's kind of fun to be on the receiving end, assuming that it's a healthy relationship. None of my male friends have been like, oh yeah, my partner proposed to me. And so like, I think that gives me kind of like a fun, very non-traditional like insight. And I'm just like, the moment's about me for a minute, like we'll get into this later on perhaps, but like I then, proposed to you, cause I mean, I kind of knew it was coming, but I didn't know exactly when.
Yeah.
So I proposed to you a couple hours later, because again, you deserve your own moment. Like I think this is something that like, if you don't want to do it the way we did it, it'd still be fun to do a proposal and then a counter proposal, regardless of who proposes first, because everybody
I
deserves
totally
their moment.
agree.
Yeah. Like who wouldn't want to feel celebrated? Like I
Yeah.
want to be a pretty princess too sometimes,
Yeah. And also, I think it was important for me to feel like I had agency in this big life decision. Like, I can't think of other things that you don't put out such a strong bid first. Like, I mean, even in a job, in applying for a job, like you put out the application and you hear back and then it becomes this negotiation. Whereas in relationships, it feels like those negotiations happen behind the scenes, but then one person gets the ultimate like question and
Yeah.
then it becomes a yes or no instead of this like two-way mutual thing. And so for me, with how my personality is and the way my brain works, and also because of my past, I did feel like having my proposal to you come first made me make sure that it was what I wanted.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
like I planned the whole proposal for you on the dunes in Doha and like had a ring that was designed bespoke for you. Look at that shiny beauty. And like had to go through my mind of how can I make you excited also? What would excite you in a proposal for your marriage to me? Because it is a two-way street. And up, at the altar, there's not just one person exchanging vows. It's not so lopsided of a responsibility thing. And an engagement, I feel like it looks like this. And I think having
Yeah.
both people propose really levels the playing field to make sure that the woman is actually in on it.
I was going to say, going back to your earlier comment about how like it gave you, agency and it made you feel like it was a two-way street with the engagement process. I mean, I think that's a really great insight because like everyone's going to tell you, especially if you're having like cold feet and you're sitting down with like counselors or whatever, they're gonna be like, well, marriage is a two-way street. Well, then why wouldn't every aspect of the relationship be a two-way street? Why has society convinced us that it should be a one-way street for one very key and integral moment? Just an interesting observation.
And I do think it gives the man more agency. I think being asked a yes or no question when the expectation is that you will say yes does not mean that it's a fair question, because to say
Right.
no is so much harder. It's now weighted extra. To say no in such a moment when the expectation is that you say yes makes it very hard to say no.
Yeah.
So I
I
think
also think
for that to flow a little easier is better. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I also think that there is this like cliche in a lot of relationships where modern society tells you that the woman is the one that wants to get married, but then she has to almost like pester or badger or like convince the guy to propose. So if she really wants to get married that bad, or if he really wants to get married that bad, they should just, propose. Like it is one of those societal standard things that I think, people have let themselves fall into kind of like a trope, like from a rom-com, and then you get mad at the person because they didn't propose at a certain holiday and now the holiday is ruined. Like, just enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the surprise of it all, when it's just one person knowing, it's like to know that the other person has to counter gives also some space to like, if it is a yes, but it's not a real yes or whatever, there's also like more space for that.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it can be so hard to know. It can be very difficult to know. Yeah.
I think
And
in
like,
the shock and awe of the initial proposal when you proposed to me, you were like, "Wait, did you even say yes?" And I was like, "No, I did," because it's just kind of like the blood rushes to your head.
yeah. And also for me to have that experience of like what it feels like for a dude, it's very difficult for a guy to get this type of courage because like it is very scary to have a ring and want to not botch it for the person that you love. And like you want them to feel special, but also you want to like say something that's like memorable and isn't a
Right.
stupid thing. Meanwhile, I'm like, we're on the beach and like, I'm like, so I've been thinking, I'm like, what are you saying? Like, that's not a great intro, but it just happens. I don't know. It's like one of those, it was like a rom-com in a way.
Yeah, very
But
much
I
so.
was playing the dude role.
Yeah.
But why did that have to be the dude role is my thing. Because I actually
And
had a lot of fun proposing. But I did in telling people since I have felt judgment, but I don't know if it's actual judgment or if it's from within and perceiving that they might be judging me.
because you almost like expect that because it's like so non-traditional, and then you get into the question of like, well, whose last name are you taking? And like the short
Yeah.
answer is neither.
Or
Like
like, wow, she's so desperate she had to propose, or like he's so weak he couldn't even propose first. Like that kind
hey,
of a narrative.
I was toting around that ring for some time.
I know.
And I
Okay,
mean, you
so
imported the ring from Doha to America and then took it back to Doha. So,
yeah.
I
So
mean,
I
I'm not trying to
proposed.
undermine.
And then a few hours later, we were on the beach, and then
Different
Aaron,
beach.
different
Saudi
beach.
Arabia was not in eyesight.
Yeah, I thought taking Aaron to the Saudi border would be a good way to throw him off from like the I'm gonna propose scent. And
Yeah, I thought I was either going to get proposed to or murdered. How exciting.
yes. And then like a few hours later, when you proposed, it was like so sweet because then it was another moment, and it wasn't like I was pulling all the weight either in the relationship. Like I think it was important in this avenue for us for you to then propose kind of quickly back because I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready now.
Right. You're like, all right, he's had an hour and 47 minutes. It's his
Yeah,
time. Now it's my time.
exactly.
Yeah. But I
Did
mean,
you
honestly, though,
ever, you go.
I was just going to say that was the fun part about it, though, is the fact that, like, even in, like, not to usurp your moment of giving me my moment, but like, that was the fun thing. It's like knowing that I know something that you maybe expect but don't actually know. I mean, through mutual friends, you had tried to find out if I was going to bring, the ring to Doha because we were going on to Ethiopia. And I was like, no, absolutely not.
You fooled me. Well, I was like, that's it. I just have to tell him directly. I was like, hey, I really think it's important that you bring the ring to Doha.
And I said, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, well, now he knows. So if he doesn't bring it,
Yeah.
that's on him, but whatever. One of the fears that I had is that like you would feel emasculated or that others would think that of you. Did you ever feel that way or that like you weren't able to give a woman what she wanted?
I mean, no disrespect to the general public, but I don't actually care what they think, which I think is liberating. So that's not gonna, even if I get dragged in the podcast comments, which honestly, engagement is good. So come at me. Like, I don't take that personally. I think the old version of myself back when I was like actively involved in the church, yeah, okay, that version of me would probably buy into the whole notion that like I was less of a man because I didn't take the first step. But arguably, you could also make that same case for the fact that like because you were proposing to me first, like I didn't go to your parents and ask for their blessing because you're not property. I think that's it does. I mean, I get how it can make people feel good, but like our relationship is not a transactional thing for anyone else's benefit. So, like, if we're gonna go non-traditional, I'm gonna go as non-traditional as possible. It's not like you went to my mom and asked her for permission to propose to me, you
I
know?
didn't. I'm sorry,
Oh, you
Kat.
did?
No, I
Oh no.
didn't. I
Oh,
didn't.
okay. I was like, whoa, that's news to me. I was like, Kathy, you keeping secrets? Okay, that's fair.
Sorry,
That's fair.
Kathy, I didn't do that. No.
That's all right. That's all right. I think that she's cool and accommodating enough that I don't think that she would take that as a personal offense. And she listened to the last podcast, so I'm assuming she's going to be listening to this one.
Hi, Kathy.
Shout out, Kathy. Hit us up in the comments.
Yo, what's up? Okay, so speaking of family, whose last
Yes.
name are we taking? Part of my rapid fire questions. That last
Yes.
question though
Yes.
was like a 20-minute answer. So more
That's
rapid
totally
this
fair. You're
time.
doing great on the rapid fire. I mean, I think I had already looped that question in because I was trying to like, you notice how I've taken some of the questions and I've looped them in to this whole 20-minute dialogue. We
Yep,
can
yep.
split these out for posterity. But yeah, I mean, I don't think necessarily either. We've done like some talking about it, and we think it would kind of be fun to like alternate last names, for kids, like non-traditional as hell.
Yeah.
But whose
I
last
mean, I'm not
name
changing
are
my
you
last name,
wanting?
that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I have a
That
personal
has
brand,
never been
man.
in the cards. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you go to my personal website, aaronnelsen.com, that's SEN, like I call out the other Aaron Nelsen that I'm aware of. And like he's an incredibly accomplished writer, but I'm still beating him on Google. So like I think I like that. That's fun for me,
Yeah. Let's mix it up. I mean, who's to say? Also, like you can change your mind whenever. Like
Yeah.
passports
Let's also
expire
mix it up
in
and
2
let
years.
me ask you a rapid fire question.
Okay, okay, go.
Okay. So podcast listeners may or may not know this, but like your younger sister recently got engaged. Did you feel that there was pressure for you to propose to me sooner rather than later because now little sis is engaged?
Great question. I can hear like all the Hardings in the background going like,
Oh,
oh, like shoo. So first and foremost, my sister and I have a great relationship, and so my sister and I have had great open conversations about this for like the last year. So it was a surprise to neither she nor I what our timelines were like. So I think that in and of itself had freed both of us from any feeling of one over the other or one is taking over the other. So that was certainly not the case at all. If anything, had certain conversations between she and I not happened, I would have proposed to you much sooner. I got the ring at the engagement party of my sister because my sister's fiance brought it from Texas, and long story. And so I think having that type of a dialogue with a sibling that was in a similar stage was important. But then the last time I was engaged, it was right after my brother got engaged. And so the storyline looks like Leah gets engaged after a sibling. And I'm very, very aware of that. And like that's bad imaging. But it's
bad
just
optics.
it's just certainly not, it's not the case. I'm not out there chasing that. Like you and I had been dating prior. It's just the timing, it's comical, isn't it? Really.
It is. It is. And like, I would also like to say for the record, like, I had your ring at that same engagement party for your sister. I had it when we were with your family for Thanksgiving. Like, I was toting it around like cross country adventures
You're so
just to
sweet.
be prepared.
Yeah. God bless you. Honestly. Okay. How soon after the engagement will you get married?
So soon it hurts. People are going to start vicious rumors. That's how quick we're getting married.
Yeah, I would say check your inbox if you think you're a close friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by the time this is out, you should already have it. It's true. It's
Yeah.
true.
Why wait till
Yeah.
September and when you could get married earlier? Which is the complete opposite of the first time when I was engaged. I delayed weddings 2 times. I kept kicking it down because I was like, I'm so overwhelmed and nervous. Let's delay it. That will help. And that
Podcast
is
listeners heard it
not
here first.
sure.
If season 3 drops and we're not married, something
Something's
isn't
terribly
right.
wrong. Yeah, I have kicked the can down the road and it's not happening, to be honest. Okay. What's another question?
I have
When?
a final question when you're done with your questions,
Okay, great.
like a bombshell to drop on.
Okay, that's good to know. When did you know I was the one you wanted to marry?
Well, that's kind of an embarrassing thing to admit, I feel like. But again, I guess I
What,
don't
like
care
first
what people
date?
think. What's that?
First date?
No, I think like first date, I was like, okay, this person's really cool. And if she wants to, entertain like seeing me again, awesome. Like I was planning on, before we started dating, I was planning on like leaving the part of upstate New York that we met in. And I think I was pretty direct about communicating that. And you were like, actually, that's perfect because, so I think
I'm
that
not
played out
saying.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not staying here either. Yeah, so I would say probably like 2.5 months in. Like there was definitely like inklings from like, okay, like I like where this is headed, but there's a lot of like, I think because of past relationships, I've put the realism, or some might say pessimistic filter on a lot of things. So, even though I was like, okay, I think this is going really, really well, like during the early months, I still was processing some of the baggage, if you will, of
Mm.
like previous expectations and like whether or not like my self-worth measured up. Okay. So same question back to you. How far into us dating did you think to yourself, like, okay, I need to figure out what kind of ring this guy wants?
I can't say there was like a time. It was, I would say, a consistent piece throughout. Like there hasn't been this big spike in like adrenaline with our relationship, which for my nervous system has been a real blessing. So there wasn't like one specific moment, I wouldn't say, but after our first date, I had a very divine peace about you and us, that to the where I didn't feel like I had to ask people what they thought, because I knew so clearly what I knew and how I felt and what I like believed in. And so it was like riding that wave of like, I don't need this external validation that I've always sought in relationships, that I can look inward and say, yeah, actually, I can give myself the validation that I need by knowing what I'm actually experiencing. Asking for advice along the way. But so that first night, like you had said, you had an hour to drive home. And so I just drove around town for an hour. I lived like 2 minutes from our first date spot, as you know. And I just like drove around and was just happy. I was like, wow, that was just good. And I told my therapist, I was like, it was just a really good date. And I was like, I just felt good, like me. And there wasn't this performative element. And also, you didn't talk about yourself the whole time. And I didn't talk about myself the whole time. And there was just this like ease and understanding of each other's like trauma and backgrounds and everything. And religion. I mean,
Yeah,
we had
that's
shared
huge.
like one of the 5 things that I mentioned earlier of things that I wanted is I wanted someone who, I'll use this finger. I wanted someone who had the same type of like breakup story with the church, like was still a Christian, was still God focused, but wasn't in this system. And finding that in you, I was like, you literally ticked my 5 things. And I was like, what? This is crazy. I was like, is it too soon to be certain? But I was pretty certain from very early on. I've never recalled having a time of doubt about any of it. Have you had any interesting responses from anyone?
Well, can I reserve the right to veto this from air? Short answer is yes. Yeah, for sure.
How do you feel about that?
For the most part, I think it's like it's great. People that I haven't talked to in 10 years, even if it's just a like and a congratulations, it's like it's nice to know that they're like you're still worth that level of interaction. Because a lot of
But isn't it
people,
weird they haven't said other things? Like, are these people like lurking in the shadows and aren't
I
going to
think
say like,
mostly it's
hey,
engagement, right?
congrats about buying a house or graduating with your master's or
Yeah.
anything. But then it's like love related and suddenly like boom, you hear from someone from like 10 years ago. I guess grace for me comes with thinking about the algorithm, but it also ends there because it's like
Right.
you like you haven't asked me how I am. I don't think you've ever wished me happy birthday, or like it's great to see Josie and Jefferson are doing well. It's like, oh, I'm engaged. Now I am worthy of a response.
Yeah.
Or
But
like
I mean,
now I'm like valuable in this space.
yeah, you
And
have social clout because a man has expressed interest in you is how it feels on some level.
yeah, which is literally where disengaged came from, was feeling this sense of empowerment within a niche community and then losing it because the relationship ended and being so surprised by that. And now
Yeah.
I shouldn't be surprised by this either. And I'm grateful for the congratulations and whatnot. I do think it is something in our society that is praised far too much and far higher than other things that are actually way harder to do, like write a book. Like literally, shout out Alicia Foon just wrote a book. Like that is way harder than designing a ring and putting it on someone's finger. Like mad props. We all need to be congratulating her, you know? Not that there isn't great joy here. Clearly, this is a soapbox I feel very passionate about.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I don't share the same level of introspective
I
passion.
know. Ugh, this is why opposites attract. Okay, you said you had
Yeah.
another question, a final question.
Do you think you getting engaged hurts or helps your personal brand, i.e., the brand of Disengaged the podcast?
Oh, shoot. You come on thick. Well, I think it helps the brand because the brand is all about self advocating. Disengage is all about admitting to mistakes, owning up to yourself, and moving on unabashedly, and then also self advocating along the way. And the term disengaged, as we know, over the course of these 2 seasons, has come from my story of ending an engagement to actually finding ways to advocate for myself and not be disengaged from self in the process. It is a story arc that I did not see coming. I did not see it. To then end season 2 with being engaged. The name is not changing. This will not become Re-engaged, the podcast.
Oh, I was going to ask if there's going to be a spinoff.
No, it's still disengaged. Like the thing is still there. Like the biggest problem that I think especially women face is feeling disengaged from self. And like yes, love has something to do with it, but it's not all about love and relationships. It's about that inner compass of, yeah, I said no to the thing. And so no, disengaged is still disengaged. Like it will always be its own thing. And it's grown to something beyond just me and you. And so this is just this rebirth of it taking on its own life and my story taking its own turn. And so good for the brand, bad for the brand. I don't really see it as a brand. Like I see it as a self-awakening journey to which I'm grateful to be on, and that has like gifted me more than I could have ever imagined.
If you had to compare each season of Disengaged to a Taylor Swift album.
Ooh. Season 1 was Reputation.
I feel like that lines up.
Yeah. Season 2 was Folklore because it was other people's stories.
Okay.
Folklore, Evermore, that sisterhood. Season 3 will be super zoomed in close. That's Lover. Yeah. Lover's pretty zoomed in close. So is Life of a Showgirl. But we'll let her have that one. I'll pick Lover. Yeah.
It's very kind of you.
I know. Wish List, though. Great song. And I found a guy who I think is hot.
This podcast was produced by the Anthology Group.